The 2017 co-winner of the country category is Chris Murphy from WA. Welcome, Chris.
G'day mate, how are you?
Good, thank you. Now your song's called A Kid from the Country at Heart.
Yeah.
Is that about you?
It's loosely based on some early years in my life, yeah. Do you want to hear the story behind?
I would love to hear the story.
All right. Well, the guy that produced the record, Michael Carpenter,
yes.
We were making a country record. He'd said, it works well for you. I'd been sort of pop in your poppy, rocky type stuff. And he said, you're really leaning down that Keith Urban kind of style with kind of the reference tracks I was bringing in. So we were doing that, and he said, you've got some songs and they're going great. He said, you should sit down and specifically write a song for the genre. Like it's actually come organically. And I thought, that's a great, and as songwriters all know, no one likes a challenge better, okay, well, I will.
Yeah.
So I sat down, and once I got some melody and chords and stuff, I actually just thought about, because my dad was a policeman when we were kids. So in WA, I don't know if it's the same on the East Coast, but after a few years of being a policeman, you're sort of required to do what they call country service. You have to go and live in the country towns. And we spent a few years in a place called Southern Cross, which is a real wheat belt iron ore town. And we had close friends that lived in a place called Dumbleyoung, which is also a wheat, sheep kind of area. So I just tapped into all these remembrances I had of harvesters and mending a fence at the back of the station, which is one of the lines in the song. And how, as an adult now, there's a couple of lines in the tune about, you can still see the stars at night, but you can also hear your neighbours yelling next door, and do you know what I mean? And you kind of wish for that country lifestyle again. And at the end of the day, I'm just a kid from the country at heart was kind of the concept. That was a really long answer for a very short question, but...
No, well, you've explained yourself very well there.
Thanks.
And a great song. You wrote that by yourself?
I did, yeah. Yeah, I did. And I've been co-writing songs with another friend of mine, and Michael I've been co-writing songs with too. And it just happened to be that's the one. So I was saying to my wife that, if you're going to win something like this, there's a little part of your soul that just goes, yeah, it was me.
Yes.
I did this one. Yeah, so I'm pretty chuffed that she's my little baby, that song, and that's the one that won.
Great.
Yeah.
And you're a performing songwriter as well?
Yeah.
Where do you perform?
Well, I've performed all over the country for most of my, career. But I'm basically, because I live in WA, I'm based in Perth, so mainly WA stuff. But I'm a full-time working musician, so I'm doing sort of between 3 and 5 shows a week and supporting my family, and still having time to jet over to Sydney and catch up with you guys.
And collect awards. First award for you?
It's my first, what I consider proper award, yeah.
Right.
I've won some sort of small stuff in my life, but to be honest with you, and I think you'll remember the call, because it was Alan that phoned me to tell me.
You were on tour at the time.
I was on tour at the time, and I got emotional because this is the one that ticked that box for me. And it was, my dad said a great thing, actually, when I told my mum and dad, and I'm trying not to get choked up now, but he said, I'm really proud of you, because I feel like for the first time somebody else can hear your songs the way I've always heard them, as award-winning songs. It meant a lot to me.
Yes.
And he actually just articulated what I was feeling inside as well, where I feel like I've been validated by my peers and by the Australian National Songwriting Association. Who better to say, you wrote the best country song this year than that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Short of winning an ARIA award, it's kind of like, that was the big one for me. So, yeah, my first proper real songwriting award that I'm just going to go, I'm an award-winning songwriter,
You are.
Don't even talk to me about it.
Yeah, you are. And what other songs have you written, Chris?
Look, I've been writing songs since I was about 11, which is probably why this does mean so much. This is a lifetime journey, and my brother Courtney and I were top 4 finalists on Australian Idol back in the day.
Oh,
so
really?
We've been around the block a few times and had a few albums out. And it's funny, your call to me was such a surprise, because I was unaware that I was in the shortlist thing, because you send out a lot of emails, and some of them are just, here's the newsletter and here's this and that. You don't always read all of them. So when I've gone back, found out I was shortlisted for the country, I go, well,
Yes,
that
you
would have
were.
been less of a surprise when you phoned. But I was also shortlisted for the pop section as well. And so that was a pleasant surprise. So I had a couple in pop as well. And,
Pop as well.
and my brother Courtney and I and our other brother have got a new Murphy Brothers album coming out. So I don't really stick with just my solo country stuff, or just, you know, I just write songs and enter your things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the Murphy Brothers, that's a side show for you, I suppose.
Yeah.
So what does that involve?
Like, well, my brothers and I, Kieran and Courtney, we started our band Murphy's Law about 25 years ago, actually.
Okay.
And we had a few albums out, and we did a bunch of things. And then, of course, the Idol thing came up for Courtney and I. And then we kind of split off for a few years, where I was doing my solo records and doing my solo tours, and he was doing this and that. And it was our brother in between us, Kieran, who said, we just got to get back to how we were. Do you remember we used to write songs together, and it didn't matter who wrote it, and, you know. And it was really attractive, because once you get your youth out of the way, I'm not saying I'm ancient, but, you know, once you get all that ego stuff out of the way, you can go, I just want to make some songs with you again, you know.
Yes.
So we made this album a couple of years ago, which Michael Carpenter produced, the guy that produced Kid from the Country at Heart, and just had so much fun. We just wrote songs that we wanted to write, and didn't worry about whether a major record label was going to pick it up, or any of those silly little things you used to hang your hopes on as a younger performer. We just went, we're making the record we want to make, and we had a lot of fun with that. And we're in the middle of doing one now.
Right.
So good fun.
Good fun.
We can wear our Beatles influences on our sleeves, and our, you know, Beach Boys and Queen and Crowded House, and just go, don't care if it's popular now, we're doing it anyway.
So what's going forward? What's your main genre? Are you going to be the kid from the country, or are you going to step into the rock or pop or other genres as well?
You know, it's a good question. We had a bit of momentum when we were young guys, but what similar things used to come back to us when, you know, the Sonys and those sort of things. You know, you'll do a Beatley style track here, and then there'll be a hard rock and roll track, then there'll be a ballad, then there'll be like a jazzy thing, and it's a bit schizophrenic. And we go, well, yeah, but we're interested in all that kind of music, and then, you know, we like to write in that kind of style. And it was, I think the music world had gone to a place where, well, yeah, but we need to put you in your little compartment. What are you going to be?
They do.
And we were always a little frustrated by that, and maybe that was our downfall, you know. But having said that, having done an album or two of just completely country-oriented ideas, I've gotten to a point now where I just want to do what I want to do. And if this song sounds poppy, but I do want to put a banjo on it, then maybe it's country now. Like,
yeah, that's what you do.
That's it, and I don't mind, because to me, good music is just good music. And the whole country thing for me anyway evolved because I was bringing my songs to Michael and saying, and this is kind of the idea, you know, production-wise, that I want to do, and I'll bring a Rascal Flatts tune in, or an Adam Brand song, or a Keith Urban song, and he'd go, well, you really like your country? And I was like, oh, is it country? And I go, yeah, that's country. I'm going, all right. I always thought Slim Dusty, or, you know?
Yeah.
And so it changed my whole perspective. And I go, well, I'm in then, count me in.
That's right.
Good music to me.
Pack my bags for Tamworth.
Correct. And I did go to Tamworth, and I had a good time. I did some shows and
Did you?
sold some EPs and had a good time.
What did you? Where did you perform? Did you do busking or?
No, I did. I got some shows at. I'm going to forget them all now because it was a few years ago. I only went there once. The Post Office, is that?
Post Office Hotel.
Yeah, Post Office. I did that, and I did what's the big one on the Oval? Oh, I can't remember.
Oh,
it was terrible.
The big.
The Toyota one.
Yeah, the big. What do they call it? The entertainment centre or something or other there.
Did a couple of those.
That's
things.
huge.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. I had about a handful of shows, but because Tamworth is such an institution, or the festival, and I was out of left field. I was this guy off Idol, not really known for country. I sort of had to pay my dues, so I did a couple of shows. But then I didn't follow it up the next year. But life gets in the way. I've got a family, and I had a bunch of shows booked in, and do you know what I mean? But love to go back. It was a wonderful experience.
Yeah, it's a great experience. So where is all this heading for you now? Where would you like to be in 10 years' time?
You're good with your questions, aren't you? This is not the first time you've done it.
No. Russell and I are a team.
Yeah?
Yeah. we strategise how to corner people, don't we?
Yeah, it's a good question. Look, it's a good question. I'll tell you why it's a good question. I've kind of done a lot to date in my career, and as I sit here in front of you now, I remember the first time I wrote a song when I was 11 years old, and that was the reason I wanted to. And I couldn't really play very well. I could pick out a tune on the keyboard and like 2 chords on a guitar. And then from there, my whole life has carried on, and I've done shows and bands and TV shows and won an award. And but as I sit here now, I just want to go back to that feeling I had where I just wanted to write songs. Whether I end up being the performer of them, or I get a publishing deal and end up being able to distribute songs to other artists, or whatever that may be, in my heart of hearts, some people may see me as an entertainer and a performer, and that is a big part of my life, and that's what I do for a living. In my heart of hearts, I'm a songwriter.
Right.
And that's why this award today means so much to me, because I finally have been validated for that, and not so much the entertainer.
Great. Well, that's great talking to you, Chris.
Wonderful talking to you.
Look forward to your performance tonight. That'll be a good one, I'm sure.
Thanks, mate.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much. That's Chris Murphy.